Dear students, if you remember that we had started lesson 7, Tom loses a tooth. Tom, a naughty boy, doesn't want to go to school, and so he is thinking of some excuses for not going to school. Excuse means plea, ojuhat. At first he thought that he would tell his Aunt Polly that he had a pain in the tooth, but Aunt Polly would then take it out. It would cause pain. So Tom dropped the idea. Then he thought of another disease. He had heard from a doctor that a certain disease might lay up a patient for several days and he might lose a finger. And Tom thought that his toe was painful. So he thought that the sore toe was a good chance. And Tom fell to groaning. To groan means to give out a cry of pain. We are starting from that point at page 50. Tom groaned louder. He fancied that he began to feel pain in the toe. Groan means, as I have already said, to give out a cry of pain. Arthanad kara. Tom began to groan louder and he fancied. To fancy means to imagine. Kalpana kara. He imagined that there was pain in the toe. No response. From Sid. Who is Sid? Sid was the half brother of Tom, Tashwat Bhai. Sid was sleeping by him. He began to groan. He began to cry out in pain, but Sid was still sleeping. No response. Response means answer. No answer from Sid. Tom then started a succession of groans. Succession, coming one after another. Tom began to groan, then he again groaned, and he went on groaning. However, Sid snored on. What is meant by the term snore? Snore means a strange noise coming out of the nose, nagdaka. That is called snoring. That means Sid was lost in deep sleep. Tom became excited. He said, "Sid, Sid," and shook him. Shook is the past form of shake. To shake means to give a violent push, jhakuni deva. This course worked well. Which course worked? When Tom gave a mighty shaking to Sid, when he shook him, Sid woke up. Sid yawned, then raising himself on his elbow stared at Tom. Yawn. What is meant by the term yawn? To yawn means to open the mouth and take breath. In Bengali, hai tula. Sid yawned because he had been sleeping. Then he stared at Tom. What is meant by the term stare? To stare means to look fixedly at someone. Ekdrishti chetaka. He stared at Tom because Sid could not understand what was happening. He could not understand why Tom had awakened him. He was still in a trance. He raised himself on his elbow. Elbow is this part. So he raised himself on his elbow and stared at Tom. Tom went on groaning. Sid said, "Tom, say Tom." Sid could not understand why Tom was groaning. So Sid requested Tom to tell him what had happened to him. No response. But Tom did not reply. "Here, Tom. Tom, what's the matter, Tom?" Now Sid became anxious. Sid became anxious because he thought that Tom was really inflicted with a disease. তা সত্যি কোনো অসুখ করেছে। Sid shook him and looked in his face anxiously. Anxiously means with anxiety, with worry, duschinta niye. Sid was now worried because he could not understand why Tom was groaning. Tom moaned said, "Don't shake me." Moan. To moan means to give out a cry of pain, to wail, arthanad kara. So Tom wailed and requested Sid not to shake him because it caused pain to him. "Why, what's the matter, Tom? I must call Auntie." And now Tom's plan was going to succeed. Actually, why did Tom want to awaken Sid? Sid would go to Aunt Polly and report to her that Tom was very sick. So now Tom's plan had succeeded. So now Sid said that he would go and call Aunt Polly. "No, never mind, it will be over by and by maybe. It will be over." But Tom was still acting in a very clever manner. He told Sid that there was no need to go to Aunt Polly. The pain might disappear. Aste aste chole jabe. By and by means slowly. Don't call anybody. "But I must. Don't groan so, Tom. It's awful. How long have you been this way?" But though Tom told Sid that there was no need to call Aunt Polly, Sid was anxious, and he said that he must call Aunt Polly. He also requested Tom not to groan because it's awful. Awful means something that gives rise to fear. It was fearful. How long have you been this way? That means Sid wanted to know how long had Tom been groaning. সে কতক্ষণ আর্তনাদ করছে. How long he had been suffering. Hours. And Tom replied that he had been suffering for hours. "Oh, don't stir so, Sid, you will kill me." To stir means to shake. Sid had again shaken Tom. আবার ঝাঁকুনি দিয়েছিলেন. And Tom pretended, সে ভান করল, that it was very painful. "Tom, why didn't you wake me sooner?" Now, Sid was very much afraid. Sid was very much nervous. He thought that Tom was going to die. So he asked Tom why he had not called him earlier. "Oh, Tom, you aren't dying. Are you, Tom? Oh, don't." And now Sid was afraid that Tom was going to die, and he requested Tom not to die. "I forgive everybody," Sid. "Tell them so." And when Tom realized, when he understood that Sid was more or less convinced that he was going to die, he pretended that he was on the verge of death. সে ভান করলো সে যেন মৃত্যুর মুখোমুখি আছে. Before death, what does one do? He pardons everyone. Pardon means to forgive, ক্ষমা করা. He told Sid that he had forgiven everybody. Tell them so. Now Sid was all the more convinced that Tom was going to die because he was forgiving everyone. Sid had rushed to call help. Now Sid rushed. To rush means to run fast. Sid ran fast to call help. That means he ran fast to Aunt Polly for help. Tom's imagination was working perfectly by now. Tom's imagination, his plan had succeeded. What Tom had thought was happening very smoothly. By now his groans had gathered a genuine tone. Genuine means real. At first, when Tom had started groaning, it had seemed a little artificial. প্রথম যখন আর্তনাদ আরম্ভ করলো একটু কৃত্রিম মনে হচ্ছিল. But now, when he had been groaning for 10 to 15 minutes, now it appeared to be real. Meanwhile, Sid flew downstairs. Flew. It is the past form of fly. Birds can fly. How can Sid fly? Fly has another meaning. Fly means to run quickly. Sid ran quickly downstairs. That means he descended down the stairs. And said, "Oh, Aunt Polly, come. Tom's dying." He informed Aunt Polly that Tom was on the verge of death. Dying. Aunt Polly was shocked. Only a few hours ago she had seen Tom hale and hearty. How can he die? So she was very much shocked and asked, "Dying?" Yes, don't wait, come quick. And Sid informed Aunt Polly that Tom was actually going to die and she must come quickly. What rubbish? I don't believe it. Rubbish means nonsense. Aunt Polly could not believe what Sid said. So she said that what Sid was saying was nonsense and she did not believe. But actually she herself was also very anxious. She flew upstairs with Sid and Mary, Tom's cousin. Who was Mary? Mary was Tom's cousin. খুড়তুতো জ্যাঠতুতো পিসতুতো ভাই বোনকে বলা হয় cousin. So she means Aunt Polly. Aunt Polly flew upstairs. That means Aunt Polly ran quickly up the stairs. She was accompanied by Sid and Mary. Mary was Tom's cousin. Her face grew pale. Pale means seems like without blood, whitish. ফ্যাকাশে হয়ে যাওয়া. Why did Aunt Polly's face become pale? Her face became pale because she was afraid, she was nervous that Tom was going to die. And her lips trembled. Her lips trembled, that ঠোঁট কাঁপছিল. That means this is a sign of nervousness. When she reached the bedside, she gasped out. To gasp out means to say something with breath. শ্বাস প্রশ্বাসের সঙ্গে কথা বলা. Tom, what's the matter with you? Aunt Polly herself was very much afraid that Tom had been stricken with a serious disease. So she wanted to know what had happened to him. Oh, Auntie, Tom did not finish the sentence because Tom was acting. Tom pretended that he was so sick that he could not complete the sentence. What is the matter with you, child? And Aunt Polly wanted to know what had happened to Tom. So you read up to this point and we will finish it in the next class. So today's class ends here. I will send you some questions. Try to solve the questions, try to write the answers. Thank you.